The name of the cherry cola and cigarettes. Texas, 1956. The summer heat lingered even after the sun had long dipped below the horizon. Neon signs buzzed softly above the diner windows, casting glows of pink and blue onto the pavement outside. Inside, the scent of grilled onions and fresh pie floated through the air, mixing with the warm notes of Buddy Holly playing on the jukebox. June adjusted her hairnet with a sigh as she refilled a coffee cup for a tired-looking trucker. Her uniform, powder blue with white trim, was crisp, but her eyes had the glassy look of someone who'd been running on empty for too long. She smiled politely, took the man's thanks with a nod, and moved on without a word. Every night was the same. Locals came in after long shifts at the mill or the garage. Teenagers huddled in booths, giggling and sneaking fries off each other's plates. And then there was him, always at the same stool, second from the right. Sing. He sat hunched over a mug of black coffee, his hands still streaked with grease, a sign that he'd come straight from work. June didn't know much about him, other than that he was a mechanic and barely spoke unless spoken to. But she'd noticed how his eyes lit up when she laughed, how he always left exact change, plus a quarter more, how he stayed late, long after most others had gone. Another refill, Sem? She asked, her voice casual. He looked up at her with that quiet intensity that always made her heart stumble a little. Yeah, thanks, June. She poured slowly, careful not to spill. For a moment, their hands brushed. Neither pulled away. You been working late again? She asked, leaning against the counter. Yeah, trying to fix up an old bike. Needs more parts than I thought. June tilted her head, curious. You ride? Used to. Not lately. But if I get this one running, he gave a rare, shy smile. Might take it out for a night spin. Sounds like freedom, June said, more to herself than to him. Sem watched her for a moment. Yeah, I guess it does. She'd been living in this town her whole life. Her mama always said girls like her didn't leave. They married, settled down, had babies. Singing was a dream, sure, but dreams didn't put food on the table. Still, June held on to the little spark inside her, the one that lit up whenever she heard music. After closing, she sat alone in one of the booths counting tips. The jukebox kept playing Patsy Cline, Elvis, Etta James. The voices she dreamed of joining one day. Her mama's voice echoed in her mind. A pretty face and a voice don't mean nothing if you ain't got someone to come home to. But June didn't want to come home. She wanted to go, to chase something, to be more. The next evening, Sem was back. This time, he looked more tired than usual. You all right? She asked as she slid him a plate of pie without him even ordering it. He gave a slight nod. Dad and I had words again. About the garage? Singh nodded. He says I'm wasting time. I should just stay put and be glad I've got a job at all. June sat across from him for a moment, the diner emptying slowly around them. I get it, she said softly. My mama thinks singing's just a phase. Says I'll end up like her, worn out and stuck. You ever think about leaving? Sem asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Every damn day, June replied, staring out the window into the Texas night. 2 weeks passed. Their conversations grew longer, deeper. June found herself waiting for his knock on the counter, the way he always tapped twice to let her know he was there. Sem would sometimes stay until her shift ended, walking her to her car even when she said it wasn't necessary. One night, as the air grew cooler, he approached her with a grin she hadn't seen before. You said freedom sounds nice, right? She raised an eyebrow. Yeah. He motioned outside. Come with me. Just for a ride. Her heart jumped. She glanced back toward the kitchen, then out at the parking lot. What now? He nodded. Now. Outside, the sky was a deep indigo, scattered with stars like diamonds. Sem's motorcycle stood ready, old but clean and shining with care. He handed her a helmet, though it looked like it had seen better days. She hesitated only a moment before climbing on behind him, her arms wrapped instinctively around his waist. The engine roared to life, and they took off into the night, wind whipping around them, freedom buzzing in her chest like lightning. They drove past cornfields, over creaky wooden bridges, and down lonely country roads. No one else in sight, just them and the endless sky. Sem slowed the bike near an open field and stopped. Come on, he said, hopping off. She followed, barefoot in the grass, as they lay down looking up at the stars. You know, she whispered, when I was little, I used to think stars were holes poked in heaven. Sam turned his head to look at her. You still believe that? Sometimes, she admitted. When I want to. They lay in silence a while, breathing in sync. And in that moment, with Texas all around them and everything else far away, June felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The morning after their midnight ride, June woke up with wind-blown hair and a smile she couldn't shake. Her room, still the same since she was 14, floral wallpaper, an old vanity, records stacked in the corner, suddenly felt too small. Downstairs, the clatter of dishes and the smell of bacon meant one thing. Her mother was already waiting. Late night, her mother asked without turning around. June poured herself coffee. Just went for a ride. With who? Sing. Her mother turned, lips pressed tight. That the mechanic boy? June nodded, taking a sip. You know who his daddy is, don't you? June sighed. Yes, Mama. Everybody knows everybody here. Her mother wiped her hands on a dish towel and leaned on the counter. You keep getting involved with boys like him. You'll never leave this place. That made June laugh bitterly. And if I don't, you'll be proud? Like how you're proud of never chasing your own dream. Her mama stiffened. I gave up that dream to raise you, she said sharply. You think I don't remember what it's like? Singing every night, thinking someone would come in and discover me. I thought your daddy was going to take me somewhere, but all he did was take me back here. June looked down. I'm not asking you to be proud, she whispered. I'm just asking you not to stand in my way. Her mama didn't answer, only turned back to the stove, her shoulders suddenly tired. That same day, Sam was elbow deep in the hood of a car when he heard the familiar crunch of boots behind him. His father. Looks like that Chevy's still dead, the older man grunted. Sam didn't look up. Working on it. You fixing bikes now, too? Heard you took that waitress out for a spin. Sinks traginid slavly. It was just a ride. His father smirked. Boys like you don't get girls like that. And you sure as hell don't get to waste your life chasing dreams of running a garage you can't afford. Somstyo clenched. I'm Savin. I've got a plan. Plans are for people with money and a name. You got neither. It stung. Not because it was unexpected, but because it was exactly what he feared deep down. You stay on here, his father continued. Steady pay. Respectable work. This town don't need more broke dreamers. Sem looked away. Maybe I don't want to be in this town. His father laughed. You sound like your mother. Sing fleeshid. That night, June stayed after her shift, humming softly to herself as she wiped down the counter. Sem walked in late, oil stains on his shirt and a quiet look in his eyes. You all right? She asked. He nodded. Just tired. She reached over and touched his hand. Me too. He looked at her. I've been thinking about that ride. Felt like the world finally opened up. June smiled. I haven't felt that free in years. They stood there in the soft glow of neon, the world outside quiet and distant. You ever think, he asked softly, what if we just left? Her heart skipped. Left how? Just go. On the bike. Find a new town. You sing. I fix engines. Start fresh. She blinked. Are you serious? I've never been more. She looked down at the floor. My mama would kill me. Sem stepped closer. So would mine. But we ain't living for them, are we? Silence stretched between them. Finally, June whispered, I want that. More than anything. Later, as she sat in her car, hands trembling on the wheel, June watched the closed diner through the windshield. Her heart was beating too fast, and not just from Sem's words. It was the first time in her life someone had offered her a way out. A real one. And for the first time, she wasn't sure whether she was brave enough to take it. 2 days passed, but the conversation lingered like heat on the back of Sem's neck. Just go. Start fresh. He'd said it like a joke, like a spark, but now it was catching fire in his chest. He sat in the small shed behind his parents' house, staring at a crumpled map of Texas. Beside it, a notebook with numbers scratched into the margins. Rent prices, fuel estimates, shop tools, motel rates. He had just over $600 saved. Not enough for a garage. Maybe enough to start somewhere, fix cars under a tree, get their bearings. Enough to leave. He ran a hand through his hair. Could she really do it? Leave her mama? Leave Everything she knew, he didn't have the answers, but he wanted to be the reason she tried. That night, June's manager, Earl, a wiry man with a thin mustache and a soft spot for talent, waved her over before the dinner rush. "June," he said, eyes glinting behind thick glasses, "you still singing? Not just humming behind the coffee pot." She blinked. Sometimes. Good. I've been thinking. Fridays are slow, but if we had live music, might bring folks in. You game to try it?" Her breath caught. "You serious?" He nodded. "Just one song. You've got the voice, girl. I've heard you late at night when you think no one's listening." She hesitated, then smiled. "I'll do it." Word spread fast in small towns. By Thursday, everyone knew June was going to sing, even her mother. "That's not a real job," she said, folding laundry like she was folding accusations. "It's just a trick to keep you around." June didn't respond. "I sang once too, remember?" People clapped. Then they forgot. June met her mother's eyes. "I'm not you." That silenced the room. Later that night, June practiced in her room with the door locked and the volume low. She chose at last Etta James. Simple, strong, real. Outside her window, the crickets hummed backup vocals. Friday night. The diner had never been so full. Locals filled every booth, every stool, leaning in anticipation. The jukebox was unplugged. Earl tapped the mic once and cleared his throat. "Ladies and gents, y'all know her as the girl who brings your pie and fills your coffee. But tonight, she's got something else to offer." He stepped aside. June walked slowly to the mic, heart pounding in her throat. She scanned the crowd. Then she saw him, Sem, standing near the back, grease-stained shirt, wide eyes, hands shoved into his pockets like he was holding on to something too big to show. She closed her eyes and sang. The first note was shaky. The second, stronger. By the time she hit the chorus, the diner was silent. No forks, no whispers, just her voice, low and clear and raw, slicing through the air like truth. Sem didn't blink. He never heard anything like it. She wasn't just singing, she was reaching, like her soul was climbing out of her chest, one note at a time, trying to find something on the other side of the glass. And in that moment, he knew, whatever dream she had, it was real. And if she asked him to ride through fire, he would. When the song ended, the room exploded with applause. June flushed, stunned. People whistled, cheered, clapped her on the back. Earl offered her another night next week. But all she could focus on was Sam, standing there, unmoving. Their eyes met. She walked straight to him. He opened his mouth, but no words came. "You liked it?" she asked, breathless. He nodded. "That was—" "Yeah," she smiled. They stepped outside into the humid night. The sky above was pale and endless, a different kind of stage. Sem kicked at a stone. "If you keep singing like that, you're not going to be here long." She looked at him. "That scare you?" He thought for a moment. "Then, no. But I want to be where you're going." She touched his hand. "Then let's figure out how." But just as things began to fall into place, life pulled harder in the other direction. The next morning, June's mother found the audition letter tucked in her daughter's coat pocket. An open call in Los Angeles, posted weeks ago, but still valid. She confronted her in the kitchen, the paper crumpled in her fist. "This what you've been planning? Sneaking off like your daddy did?" "It's my life, Mama." "You think he never wrote? You think he never promised to come back?" June stepped back. "This ain't about him. It's about me." Her mother's voice cracked. "Then why does it feel like I'm losing you two?" June looked down, heart breaking and hardening at once. "Because maybe you are." Meanwhile, Sem faced his own storm. His father, finding the map and the plans, burst into the shed with fury in his eyes. "You think this is smart? Running off with some waitress, wasting every dime. It's my money, my life. You'll end up broke, alone, just like your mother." Sem stood taller. She wasn't weak. She was just tired of being told she was. His father's silence was louder than any shout. Sem walked out without another word. That night, they met behind the diner, in the back lot where the neon didn't quite reach. Sem had the motorcycle ready, 2 helmets hanging from the handlebar. "I'm ready," he said. June hesitated. "So am I." "Almost." He nodded. "We don't have to go tonight." "But we will," she said. "Soon." They sat on the bike in silence for a long while, leaning into each other. dreamers, aching but alive, waiting for the moment the road would finally belong to them. By the second Friday, the diner was standing room only. People came not just for pie, but to hear June Marie Carson sing. That's what they called her now, not just June. Her name was on a chalkboard outside the diner, under live music Fridays. She sang like she belonged somewhere bigger. And maybe she did. Her voice became the soul of the town's Friday nights. Young couples held hands beneath the soft hum of neon. Truckers stayed late just to hear one more song. Children leaned on counters, watching her like she was something out of a movie. And every week, Sem stood in the shadows at the back, the same grease under his nails, the same tired eyes. But he clapped the loudest. Still, something had shifted. On the third Friday, she sang Fever, and there was something electric in the air, something that hadn't been there before. Her dress hugged tighter, her lips curled with a little more confidence, and when she swayed to the rhythm, every man in the room leaned forward. Sem didn't. He leaned back. Afterward, she ran up to him, flushed and glowing. "Well," she asked. "You were great," he said, but his voice was flatter than usual. "You sure?" He rubbed the back of his neck. "You looked real comfortable up there." She laughed. "Isn't that the point?" "Yeah," he said quietly. "I guess it is." The next day, Sem skipped dinner at the diner for the first time in weeks. Instead, he worked late at the garage, wrenching a stubborn bolt until his knuckles bled. The silence around him was thicker than motor oil. He was proud of her. He was. But every cheer she earned reminded him of how far behind he was. June was rising, and he was stuck fixing other people's engines, saving pennies, dreaming about garages he couldn't afford. And worst of all, he started wondering if she even needed him anymore. June noticed right away. When he didn't show up that night, she kept glancing toward the door between verses. She smiled for the crowd, but her eyes were searching. Afterward, she sat alone in the back booth, stirring cold coffee, the echo of applause still ringing in her ears, emptier than ever. The next evening, she found him at the garage, wiping oil off his hands with a dirty rag. "You didn't come." He didn't look at her. "Had work." She stepped closer. "You mad at me?" "No." "You're lying." Silence. She sat on the hood of a rusted Buick. "You know, I thought you wanted me to shine." "I did. I do." "Then why does it feel like you're disappearing?" He finally looked at her, eyes tired. "Because every time I see you up there, I realize I can't give you what you're meant for." June blinked. "I never asked you to." "I know," he said louder now. "That's the part that hurts." She looked away. "So what? You want to stop? Forget it all." "No," he said, stepping closer. "I just want to know, if I let go, are you still reaching for me?" The question hit her like a thunderclap. "I don't know," she said honestly. "I'm scared to find out." They sat in silence again, like so many nights before, but this time the silence was heavy. Not peaceful, not soft. It was a wall. The envelope came on a Tuesday, cream-colored, with bold black letters across the front. Western Sun Talent Agency, Los Angeles. June stared at it for nearly an hour before opening it. Her hands trembled. Inside was an invitation. A regional scout had heard a recording someone made of her performance. Earl, probably, and passed it along. She was invited to an open showcase. One performance. One chance. 2 weeks from now. No guarantees. But a door. She pressed the paper to her chest and sat on the edge of her bed, whispering, "Is this it? Is this really it?" She wanted to run and tell Sem. But she didn't. Not yet. The days grew tense. She kept singing. He kept watching. But something was fraying at the edges. Sem noticed how people looked at her now. Not like a waitress, but like someone they wanted something from. A few men lingered longer than they should. One even offered to buy her a drink sometime, while Sem was standing 10 feet away. He clenched his jaw, said nothing, but it burned. The night she finally told him wasn't supposed to be that night. They sat behind the diner again, legs swinging over the loading dock, headlights flickering by in the distance. She tried to sound casual. "So, I got a letter." Sem looked over, expectant. "From a talent agency," she added, too quickly. "In L.A. They heard me sing." He sat up straighter. "You're joking." She shook her head. "They want me to perform at a showcase. Not a big thing. Just a shot." His face was unreadable. "When?" he asked. 2 weeks. Were you going to tell me? I just did. That ain't what I meant. June flinched. I didn't know how. Sem stood, pacing in front of the dumpster like the ground beneath him was shifting. So that's it? You're just going? Alone? I didn't say that. Then say something. June's voice cracked. What do you want me to say, Sem? That I'll stay and pretend this town is enough? That I'll trade everything I've ever wanted just so you don't feel left behind? He froze. So that's what you think of me? No, she said, softer now. I think the world of you. But I need to know if I'm capable of more than this. If I don't go, I'll hate myself forever. Sem looked away. And if you do go, and it works out, then what happens to us? June had no answer. He nodded slowly, then turned to walk away. I hope it's everything you dreamed of. Sing. But he didn't stop. That night, June lay awake staring at the ceiling. Her record player spun silently in the corner, needles still resting on a Patsy Cline album she hadn't finished. Outside, the wind picked up and the stars blinked like distant warnings. She whispered into the dark, "Why does chasing your dream feel so much like breaking your heart?" Meanwhile, Sem rode his bike until the sky turned from black to indigo. He didn't stop at the fields they used to lie in. He didn't stop at the bridge where they first kissed. He didn't stop at all, because he knew if he stopped moving, he'd feel everything. And right now, everything was too much. At the garage the next day, Sem worked without pause, barely eating, barely speaking. His father noticed. "Women'll do that to you," he muttered. Sem said nothing. The older man leaned against a workbench, wiping his hands. "You were never meant for more than this place, son. Might as well accept it." Sem looked up, eyes dark and steady. "I was never meant to be you either." His father didn't answer. Sem picked up his wrench and kept working. June stood by the window, suitcase half-packed on her bed. One dress, one pair of heels, a single photograph of her and Sem, taken in the photo booth at the fair last summer. He was barely smiling, but she had her head on his shoulder, eyes full of mischief and love. She almost took the picture out of the bag. Almost. Instead, she closed the lid and clicked it shut. That night, her mother sat at the kitchen table, chain-smoking with red eyes and a chipped cup of tea in her hands. "You really going?" she asked. June nodded. Her mother didn't argue. Not this time. She just said, "If you don't come back, don't forget where you came from." June swallowed hard. "I won't." They didn't hug. They didn't cry. But the silence between them was full of love and pain all the same. Sem, meanwhile, sat on the cold concrete outside the garage, chain-smoking his own thoughts. He kept turning the key to his bike over in his palm. Over and over. Like if he turned it enough times, he'd know what to do. He wanted to chase her. He wanted to let her go. He wanted to forget her. But every road in this town led back to her name. Later that night, he found himself outside the diner, staring at the neon sign as it buzzed and flickered. It was closed. Only one light still on inside. June was there, sitting in the corner booth. Alone. He didn't go in. Not yet. He watched her from outside, behind the glass, like she was already in another world. She was humming to herself, staring down at her hands, her fingers twitching nervously. Finally, she looked up and saw him. Their eyes locked. She didn't wave. He didn't smile. Just stood there in the night, the glass between them full of everything they couldn't say. Then, slowly, she stood. She walked to the door, opened it. "You came," she said. "I wasn't sure I would," he admitted. She nodded. "I wasn't sure I'd see you again." He stepped inside. For a moment, it was just the two of them. The empty diner, the hum of the fridge, the echo of the jukebox still off. Sem spoke first. "You leaving tomorrow?" "Yeah, early. You want me to stop you?" June paused. "I want you to want me to stay, but I don't want you to ask me." He closed his eyes. "That's not fair." "I know." He stepped closer. "Do you love me, June?" She didn't flinch. "Yes." "Then why are you walking away?" Her voice shook. "Because I have to find out if I can be more than this town." "And what if you are?" "Then I'll come back and find you." Sem shook his head. "You won't come back, and I won't be here." Her throat tightened. "I am sorry." He nodded. Then, without warning, he leaned in and kissed her. One last, long, aching kiss. Like a goodbye they didn't want to say. When he pulled away, she whispered, "Come with me." He stepped back. "You're going west." "I'm not even sure I know how to leave." She touched his chest. Then learn. But he didn't answer. This time he walked away. She didn't cry. Not then. She went back inside, sat at the counter, and reached behind for a quarter, dropped it into the jukebox, and chose their song. At last, she sang it quietly to herself one final time, to the empty booths, to the silent friar, to the ghost of the boy who used to wait at the second stool from the right. 3 months later, the city didn't look like dreams. It looked like cracked sidewalks, traffic at all hours, and strangers who didn't make eye contact. June was living in a studio apartment above a laundromat in East Hollywood. The walls were thin, the plumbing moaned, and her neighbor played jazz records at 2 a.m. She worked as a waitress, again. Different uniform, different music, same tired feet. But on Thursday nights, she sang. A smoky bar called the Sparrow gave her the late set. She sang to 10 people, maybe 15 if there was a birthday party. She sang slow, aching songs, songs full of longing. And every time, she scanned the room, like he might be there. He never was. Her first audition came and went. No callback. The second one? The producer left halfway through her set. Still, she kept going, because she'd promised herself, at least try. But some nights, when the neon burned too cold and her tips were too small to cover rent, she lay awake asking herself the same question. Did I leave the wrong thing behind? Back in Texas, fall came slow. Sam finally opened his garage, just a single bay with a rusted sign, but it was his. Turner's Garage. Nothing fancy. He worked from sunup to sundown, fixing beat-up Chevys and tractors for the farms nearby. Folks liked him. He was honest, didn't overcharge, and always offered rides home if someone needed it. But he didn't laugh much anymore. Not since she left. Her photograph stayed in his toolbox, folded neatly behind the spare fuses. Sometimes he'd take it out, just to remind himself she was real. Not a dream. Not a song. Real. And gone. One Saturday afternoon, Earl from the diner stopped by. "Place looks good," he said, patting the hood of a Ford. Sam nodded. "Thanks." Earl looked around. Heard anything from her? Sam paused. "No. She's singing in some little club in L.A. One of my cousins saw her. Said she's got this voice that makes people go quiet." Sam looked down. She always did. Earl hesitated. "You ever think about writing her?" Sam shook his head. "She made her choice. But did you?" Sam didn't answer. That night, he rode his bike out to the field where they used to lie and watch the stars. The sky hadn't changed, but he had. And for the first time in weeks, he closed his eyes and whispered, "Maybe it's not too late." The letter came in a plain envelope, no return address. June nearly tossed it, thinking it was junk. But when she opened it, the handwriting stopped her cold. "Sam's. June. I don't know where to start, so I'll just say it plain. I should have gone with you. I thought staying was strength. Thought letting you chase your dream was the right kind of love. But I've realized something. I didn't let you go because I believed in you. I let you go because I was scared. I was scared I wasn't enough. Scared I'd hold you back. Scared that if I left this town, I wouldn't know who I was. But now I know. I'm me with you. I'm coming out west. No promises. No big speeches. Just one question. Will you still want me when I get there?" Sing. She read it twice. Then 3 more times. Then cried. The kind of cry that leaves you gasping and laughing at the same time. Sam packed his bag the next day. Just one duffel. A toolbox. And a photograph from the fair. He left the garage in Earl's care with a handwritten note on the door. "Closed for now. Be back when I find what I lost." The ride to California wasn't fast. He didn't take the highways. Took the back roads, the long way. The way you take when you're not just going somewhere, but becoming someone. He slept in motels. Stopped at dusty diners. Fixed a stranger's car for gas money. And every time he passed a city limit sign, he whispered her name under his breath. In L.A., June kept singing. But now she sang with a crack in her voice. A sweet imperfection that people leaned into. The crowd started to grow. Not fame. Not yet. But something close to recognition. They saw her. And some nights, she saw herself again. On a Thursday evening, just before her set, she stood behind the curtain of the Sparrow in her simple blue dress. The same one she wore the night Sam first kissed her behind the diner. She closed her eyes, took a breath, and walked onto the stage. The spotlight was warm. The mic squeaked. Then the first notes began. At last my love has come along. Her voice wrapped around the room like velvet. People went quiet. Time slowed. And then, in the back, near the bar, a silhouette appeared. A leather jacket, broad shoulders, eyes locked on her like she was the only thing in the world. She almost stopped singing. But instead, she smiled through the tears that had already begun to fall and sang the next line louder. My lonely days are over. After the song ended, the room erupted in soft applause. But June didn't hear it. She was already moving through the crowd. He met her halfway. Neither said a word. They just stood there, shaking, until she finally whispered, "Took you long enough." And he whispered back, "I didn't know the way." She leaned into his chest. "I kept singing it for you," she said. "Every single night." He kissed her forehead. "I heard it." They didn't talk much that night. After the show, June and Sim walked the quiet streets of East Hollywood, past the taco trucks and old neon motels, past the city that wasn't hers yet, but now didn't feel so cold. They ended up on the rooftop of her building. 2 lawn chairs, a blanket, 1 bottle of cheap red wine. Above them, the stars were faint behind city haze. But they were still there. Sim leaned back, arms behind his head. "So, this is where you live?" June laughed. "Glamorous, right? I've seen worse," he smirked. "Hell, I lived worse." She turned to him. "Are you staying?" He didn't answer right away. Then, "I didn't ride 1,000 miles just to say hi." She looked at him. "What about the garage?" "I gave it to Earl. Told him to keep it running. I figured maybe someday we go back. Open a new one. Somewhere else. Somewhere ours." Her eyes widened slightly. "You mean that?" Sim looked her in the eyes. "I've spent enough time staying where I didn't belong. I don't want to do that anymore." June swallowed hard. "This city's hard, Sim." "So am I." She grinned. Still stubborn. "Only about you." Weeks passed. Then months. And somehow, it all began to work. June's Thursday sets turned into Friday gigs. A manager took notice. A recording session was scheduled. The dream, once so distant, finally let her in. And Sim? He started working at a local shop. Small jobs at first, then more. His hands were still calloused, still honest. But now they smelled like her shampoo in the mornings. They shared the same apartment, cramped but full of laughter. Mornings of burned toast and stolen kisses. Evenings of music and grease-stained hugs. They fought sometimes. About bills. About noise. About fear. But never about leaving. Neither one of them ran again. One night, after her first radio single aired, they sat outside on the fire escape, watching headlights crawl through the city below. June leaned her head on Sim's shoulder. "You still think about the town?" He nodded. "Sometimes. But it feels small now." She smiled. "It always was." A pause. Then he asked, "Do you miss it you were back there?" June turned to look at him. "No, but I still love her." Sim kissed her temple. "I do too." A few months later, they drove out of the city. Just for a weekend. No plans. No map. Just open road and old songs on the radio. At one point, Sim pulled over off Highway 1. They walked to the edge of a cliff overlooking the ocean. Wind in their hair. Sun setting low. June looked out across the water and said, "Remember that night under the stars?" He chuckled. "Which one?" "The one where I said I wanted more." He nodded. "You still do," he said. She turned to him. "So do you." And right there, on a coastal road miles away from where it all started, Sim pulled a small box from his jacket pocket. June froze. He didn't kneel. Didn't say anything grand. Just opened it and said, "What do you think? One more ride together." She stared at the ring. Simple. Silver. Hers. Tears welled up again. "I thought you'd never ask," she whispered. As they drove back toward the city, hand in hand, the rearview mirror caught the last light of the sun. They looked forward. They didn't wave goodbye, because they weren't leaving anything behind this time. They were riding straight into everything they become. End of story. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it.